Happy Thursday, Smite fans. You are watching the SCC Qualifiers. So excited to be back. We had a long week of SPL qualifier action just a couple of weeks ago, and now we are back for the SCC Qualifiers. This is a double elim tournament. We'll be qualifying teams in both NA and EU. My name is Dolson. Mifflin is with me. Mifflin, how have your last couple weeks been? What have you been up to?
Dude, I've just been kind of surfing the lands between kind of riding Torrent and just, I don't know, slaying lords, getting no maidens. That means. Somebody in chat got it. Explain the reference. Those of you in chat that understood what I said, let everybody else know.
Right, so I'll just be left. I'm assuming that's an Elden Ring thing.
Hey, yeah, it is.
Got it. So Elden Ring has been what Miff has been up to. These SCC teams have been up to preparing for this week ahead of them. And this will be an interesting week, Miff, because we saw a lot of these names in the SPL qualifier tournament a couple weeks ago. That was a high level of competition. Some of these teams have reformed. And so we'll see now how some of these players who had shots at the SPL, fell a little bit short, are going to start moving forward. Let's see what we've got over the horizon, though. Moving forward this week, This is your bracket. That's
hefty.
Beefy, hefty bracket. Can you count how many teams are there, Miff?
2 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 times 8 is 16.
You are absolutely right, Miff. 16
Are you
teams.
sure?
This is NA. This is NA.
Just NA.
Smite Challenger Circuit qualifiers. And so this bracket will be filled out by the end of the week. How are we going to start filling out that bracket, though? Well, we have got 4 best-of-3 sets for you today. And then, Miff, are we going to do it again tomorrow?
According to this here sheet, yeah. Yeah,
we are, but that'll be EU. So Thursday
right.
and Sunday.
Oh, goodness. So not this sheet.
Yeah, you are close. Thursday is what we've got today, and then Sunday NA will be back in action. So by the end of the week, we will see our first look at all of the teams that we have in North America. And a couple of those team names jump out. Samsara put on a pretty good show at the SPL qualifiers. Sturdy Artisans, absolutely a recognizable team name. Miff, I think I have my eyes on the Leoncitos team. Yeah, Leoncitos, Heed, Leon, Spreen, Hurrywind, and Snoopy. I think that could be a sneaky good team here in the SCC.
I mean, it's just a really good squad, right? You've got veteran shot callers, you've got some SPL talent, you got guys who've been playing at the SCC level for a really long time. But maybe one of my standout teams, maybe not everybody's favorite to come in and win, but a team that I think is going to perform very well, considering how little name recognition they really have, is ALITTLELESSPOG. And we're going to get a chance to watch them pretty soon.
That's right. We were wondering how we would weave ALITTLELESSPOG in there. And
I was going to do it
off the bat. Here is your EU SCC bracket. How many teams are on there, Miff?
16. Didn't
count. There you go. 16. Didn't need to count this time. 16 EU SCC teams, all vying for some spots in the EU SCC. We're going to be doing that tomorrow as well as Saturday. So if you're an EU SCC fan, tomorrow and Saturday, you got a doubleheader of days of 4 best-of-3 sets.
Who's your favorite?
Of EU SCC action. Say again?
Yeah, who's your favorite for the EU SCC?
For the EU SCC?
Qualifiers.
I think Just F6 is a sneaky, not even really sneaky. I think after the way that they played at the SPL qualifier LAN, I think Just F6 come in with a little bit of momentum. Belt slap in the way that team is organized, I think, I think back to, what was that, we're in season 9, goodness. Season 7 belt slap.
Good God.
It was, Johnny, Zero's Tricks Tank. Arkle was on that team, if I remember correctly.
You got a really good Smite recall.
Yeah, I know. Well, once I finally joined the Smite scene, I kind of know how it all works. But that is going to be later on in the weekend. Today we've got 4 best-of-3 North American SCC qualifier sets coming up over the horizon. You don't want to miss any of it. We'll be right back with set number 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the SCC Qualifiers. My name is J-Mac. I'm not Dolson, and that's not Mifflin. That's Gormizer, who's on the other side of the table for me. We got game number 1 coming up for you guys. It's VAMPS and a little less POG. Going to be our first team facing off for the North American SCC Qualifiers. Very long week ahead in this bracket, though, Gormizer. A lot of teams and a lot of players that we're going to recognize throughout time, and maybe some a little less recognizable as well.
It did not click. Like, I've heard the number of teams, and we've been talking about it a lot over the last few weeks and things like that. It did not register in my head what that looks like in a bracket like this until we saw the graphic, and then it fully registered, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of Smite. That's like, just for any general human, it's a lot of Smite.
Yeah, no, that is a lot of teams. I was kind of intimidated by the bracket. It's like 16 teams. Okay, cool. We have our list that popped up that has like all the different players and everything like that. I mean, it's a long list. Thankfully, we got some good people behind the scenes to provide all that information to us. But man, what a week we've got going on. What a 2 weeks, I should say, that we have going on, because this is going to go all the way into next week too. But let's go ahead and talk about our first 2 teams that are coming out here. VAMPS. While you may not recognize the team by its name, you may recognize the players as that from the core of Sleekness last time around. Remakami, new to the roster here. Erupt Crimson, I believe, also new on this roster specifically. But you have Oath, Quig, and Dude Man Bro, the triple powerhouse of the Sleekness roster.
Yeah, I think Oath had a fantastic showing up against a lot of teams last year. And like you said, Quig and Dude Man Bro were absolutely nuts. I mean, like, the team that like, a guy with the name Dude Man Bro 429 is not a guy that you think is going to pop off at a LAN, but he is the guy that popped off at a LAN last year. It was really fun to watch them, and like you said, having like that 3 core that gets joined by, at least I can speak for Crimson, completely, which is that a fantastic mid laner. I think this is going to be an even better version of this roster that we already got to see, and that means I think a lot going forward. Crimson has been one of the top players we've seen in the SEC. I think is someone that you always have to keep your eyes on, just because of what they are capable of doing in the mid lane, and going alongside with this team that we saw find wild success last year. I think it's just going to make things a lot more interesting for this squad.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we do have Crimson joining this VAMPS team here, because he actually was on the Sturdy Artisans team last season, which is a team that we're going to see later on today specifically, so we might actually get to see a nice little revenge match going between them. But on the opposite side of the board here, they're going up against Team ALITTLELESSPOG, and I mentioned that we're going to see a lot of very recognizable names that we've seen in the SCC for a long time, even some potential, former SPL players here. ALITTLELESSPOG is a team that we don't really have a whole lot of information on. Marbach, Rearge, formerly known as Greer, Adicula, Kuradal, and Darkplease. A couple of names here I do recognize between Marbach and Adicula. I believe Adicula used to be in the collegiate scene a long time back, but for the rest of this team, kind of relatively unknown as far as the competitive scene goes, Gore.
Yeah, and that's something, again, one thing I think that opens up a lot for this, right? When you're able to get into these qualifiers, VAMPS, I'm going to go ahead and throw out there, is not going to be an easy squad to take on for the very first time, but I do think this is where some of that name recognition can be built up for yourself, right? Like, if you have been seen, in the SOC scene, if you've been seen in the collegiate scene in the past, things like that, this is going to be a good time for them to show up. Again, this is not an easy team. I'm actually really interested in this duo lane, seeing what Darkplease is going to be able to do up against Dooman Bro. We've seen a lot from the qualifiers for the SBL, that there's a lot of focus on that side of the map, so there is a lot of pressure on these guys to perform just over there to make sure things stay smooth.
While we may not know a whole lot about the teams just yet, we do know that there is a new potential meta that could be coming up here with 9.2. I'm very curious to see how that could even be changing up some of the picks and bans as we are getting ready to kind of hop into those ones. A couple of gods have received some buffs up into here. As far as the hunters are concerned, Jing Wei received a nice little buff to some of her cooldowns, a couple seconds off of her primary damage and her clear from the 1 and those explosive bolts. Hera's even been seeing a little bit of a rise in the mid. It's a god. I feel that Hera's one of those gods who we see kind of just pop in there every so often in the meta. She's a god that really just kind of finds her way in there every so often, but she never really sticks there. And I think these couple of buffs that she's received in this 9.2 have really kind of potentially boosted her up, and we might be seeing her a little bit more, Gore.
I'm also interested to see, because Guardians as a whole have, shifted from what we saw at the end of last year. Honestly, I would even argue from what we saw in a few weeks ago. What was that, a month ago? Jeez, that was, it feels
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Look, hey man, time's an illusion. I don't know how to track it really well.
It's a flat circle.
Overall, I think it's going to be fun to watch, because so far, a lot of the bands are very similar to what we were used to seeing, but you know, your Umojas, the things that were like the powerhouses of first pick have to get them. They aren't really there anymore. At least in the duo lane, at least for the supports, they lie elsewhere. Usually for like your jungles, your mid laners.
Yeah, we are seeing a lot of shades of at least what the SPL qualifiers were bringing through. Amaterasu was one of the most prominent picks in the solo lane, so she's getting a ban away here. Nemesis, maybe kind of one of the more questionable ones. We saw a few very specific players who were kind of popping off on this god. And then Kabrakan as well here for VAMPS. Bans on the other side, Izanami, Fenrir, and Daji. And then Bastet and Bologna locked in first. Normally I would say, okay, Bologna, that's a little bit questionable. But with the SPL qualifiers that happened a couple weeks ago, we really did see a massive rise in Bologna, especially just auto attack warriors in general, Gore.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Bologna, like, I've not shrouded my love for Bologna, like, at all, because she's just so fun to play. I don't know what to tell you. And I think that she brings a lot to the table. It is something that you have to balance out, right? Because when you look at this, you've got a Thoth, which is, I'm honestly going to say, it feels a little bit like you're trying to take it away from Crimson while empowering yourself. He's been a very popular pick, and considering Crimson was playing it competitively when it wasn't that great, I'm excited to see what he could do if he gets it. But here, taken away from them, and a ALITTLELESSPOG going to be able to take that alongside this Bologna. But again, when you look at Bastet, you look at Medusa. Bastet's still mostly ability-based, but having like a silence available on Bologna at a readily available cooldown is going to be helpful, chasing people down, getting block stacks in your kit. She's just really good at getting in your face, staying in your face, and kind of making your life a living hell.
I think that one of the most interesting picks that have really kind of popped up in this meta has been this Bacchus that VAMPS has locked in here. It's a god that was basically unknown for the majority of Season 8. I think we saw maybe one or two plays out of, I think it was like Neilma in the Pro League, and then very sporadically we saw it through the SCC throughout Season 8. But here in Season 9, especially during those qualifiers, Bacchus has really risen to favor in that duo lane, and I think a lot of it just comes for how much pressure he offers in that lane.
And that's, I mean, that is the key right now, right? If you're looking at duo lane, like, you could tell me this was Bologna support, and I'd believe you just because that's the kind of thing that you're seeing over there. Not necessarily
fun to play,
but something that can get aggressive, can take control of the lane. Bacchus does exactly that. Bacchus is great at keeping himself alive, disrupting other people. He has a stun, he has anti-heal, and Intoxicate, in my mind, is still one of the best Guardian ultimates, not just for the CC, but for the damage it provides. So in the middle of a team fight, I think Bacchus is going to give you the best bang for your buck, at least as of right now. And early on, if you're trying to get control of this lane, this is a good duo to be able to pick it up.
Yeah, Bacchus Medusa extremely aggressive in that lane. Cernanos on the opposite side, and still waiting for what that final support is going to be here from ALITTLELESSPOG. Tiamat locked in, and I think this is one of the more curious of the mages. Tiamat was the hottest thing on the market in Season 8. Pretty much every team was either banning this god or picking her up. As of the first few weeks of competitive play, Tiamat has been a mage that has kind of fallen out of favor a little bit, especially for more of these gods that can dominate with the flat pin, the Agnis, Thoughts, those kinds of gods, even Raw out of Benny Q.
Yeah.
Those are the gods we've been seeing a lot more of, and Tiamat has kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit here. So I'm curious to see how it'll perform here for this VAMPS team. And it is going to be a Umoja locked in for the support role now for ALITTLELESSPOG. So you at least have the Cernanos and the Umoja to kind of mitigate some of the pressure that Bacchus Medusa holds.
Yeah, their clear should be fine, right? That's at least the goal. What I can see here is you've got the healing, you've got the clear, you've got enough to alleviate some of the pressure from the Bacchus and the Medusa.
No surprises as far as where everything could be going here for these two teams. Let's jump right into game number 1 and see how it all pans out. VAMPS and ALITTLELESSPOG in set number 1 of our SCC qualifier week. Remember, we have 6 teams from North America and 6 teams from Europe who will all be qualifying in to Season 9's first phase of the SCC. We kick it off here with VAMPS and ALITTLELESSPOG. Once again, it's J-Mac and Gore and Doug joining us on the Spectator here. And as far as things are concerned for startups here, nothing really new. Frenzy has kind of really risen into prominence here for the supports, as well as Shell, compared to the meditation that we were so used to kind of at the tail end of last year.
It's this, this conversation of what's going to give you, again, the most for it, right? Shell gets some really, really sick upgrades later on, so it makes it a lot easier to go into it, but it's still very helpful at the beginning of the game. And when you're up against, I see Bacchus Medusa, I want something that gives me just a little bit of shielding so I can get away from when they get aggressive, especially with something like that. Frenzy and Quick popping that early. I mean, this is just something that dictates and showcases that this duo lane for VAMPS just wants the pressure immediately. They want to be able to clear this. And you had mentioned how it's been on the rise, but Belt of Frenzy is just... It's just so good late game in team fights that honestly I expect that Quig, if he's going to pop it like this, maybe off cooldown is going to be trying to start something.
And one of the big changes that we have seen over here to the dual lane specifically, the experience kind of that's available to these two lanes has changed up a little bit. We'll hold that though. Dudeman Bro goes in aggressively with the dash. Quig has the belch, but it's a quick dash out there by Dark Police to make sure he gets out of danger. But going back to it, this little Harpy camp over here has been changed up just a little bit. Will now only spawn a single Alpha Harpy instead of the Alpha and the two smalls. And it's also coming back a little bit later as far as it's concerned. Now spawns at 135 instead of previous 105.
And again, it's just to slow things down, right? And ultimately it means that if you get pressure right off the bat, it's not the end of the world for the other team at the very start, right? When you're looking at where they are right now, Quig and Dudeman Bro could have very easily and readily gotten themselves, what, at least one Harpy there, probably invaded another one.
Ooh, first blood, though, goes over to the dual lane of VAMPS. Dudeman Bro gets the kill. A good belch at the end by Quig. May have been enough to get Dark Police, but now with the rotation in from the jungler, Rearch wants to get that kill, and a revenge he will get. Dashes in with that cleanup to get a return kill on the board here for ALITTLELESSPOG, but the one-for-one trade.
Uh-oh. Marbach, though, is in a little bit of trouble.
Marbach jumped on, and that's an easy kill for Remakami and Oath. Coupling up in that dual lane. It didn't even hit me that this is a Bastet solo. We saw a little bit of this.
Oh, yeah. Wait.
it just dawned on me. I'm like, wait, hold on. Like I was like, oh, yeah, nothing is weird here out of this team. And then I realized there's an Erlong and a Bastet, and one of those had to go solo.
Look, I love solo lane. I don't play it often, mainly because I suck at 1v1s a lot of the time. But it is something that is interesting to see when you have this flexibility. Like, FineOK was doing some things like this last year, but like didn't have the same flexibility. Bastet and maybe a couple of other assassins are the only ones that can make this work.
Crimson in danger in the mid lane, does have the blast back to get into flying stance. We'll drop the bolt just in case the dive continued there, but the mid laner will make it out level 5 on that Tiamat. And probably the only thing that may have saved his life there, being in that grounded stance level 5, got those extra protections after using that ultimate, so he'll stay alive. But dual lane aggression, still the name of the game here for VAMPS. They really want to make sure they have control there, because that 4-minute timer, when that obelisk spawns in, that's when it really starts hitting the ground. Running.
Yeah, well, and honestly, the obelisk, like, it's important, dude. Being able to get those, you can see the marked camps already, so you can look specifically at like the junglers, see what pathing they're going to take. This is a prime opportunity to go for the dual lane, knowing that you have about 30 seconds before those become major importance, and you can get some pressure.
Dudeman Bro under fire again. Rearch able to make his way in, and the scream is good. Take him out. But a rotation in from Oath now. Frenzy pops through, and a lot of damage by Oath. He'll pick up an extra kill in the fight, and maybe another one if Rearch isn't too careful. However, the good Riptides out of Kurdal are able to keep them alive. Oath cannot close the gap, but maybe with the belch, it's going to be enough. Silence out of Rearch holds them out, and Oath does not want to go for the tower dive, but Quig does, and that may have just sealed his fate. A good stun under the tower. Oath is here. One more auto is needed, but Quig will live through. Now Oath is the one in danger, running for his life, and both of them may have just potentially sealed their own fates.
Oath is just out of here. Dudeman Bro's back, and now the tables have tabled one more time. I have to turn around. Nobody's going to die from that, but it is interesting.
Well, at least on that side of the map.
Yeah, he doesn't get the same leniency, huh?
No, Marbach will fall down here. And this Bastet solo, man, it's something that I asked Nika about whenever when we had him for one of our interviews. I kept asking him, so what's up with this Bastet? Why are you doing this full damage Bastet over on this solo side of the map? He said, well, that's the only way that you can play Bastet. Yep. You just build full damage and you kill everybody and hope your team picks up the slack. And well, it seems that Remakami is going to do just fine on this side. 2-0 to start this game out.
Yeah, that's a good start for a Bastet. The fact that, honestly, I have to anticipate a lot of gold in hand. Yeah, enough to go up immediately to Tier 3. I'm like, 2-0, hasn't gone back, like, is still sitting on the Tier 1, gets a full Soul Eater there. So that is a great purchase for them, a good back. And if you're already controlling this lane, you're 2 levels up on the Bellona, you're going to be able to find even more pressure. And again, we were talking about those camps being important. Not only do we get to see Quig stripping away some of these offerings, but it's so much easier for you to just kind of flex out into the jungle, steal whatever you want from ALITTLELESSPOG, cause that farm to go even more in favor of VAMPS here.
We have seen some changes to the obelisk specifically as far as this patch is concerned.
Yeah.
Some of the changes to the damage that it deals when you steal, some of the nerf to Interceptor specifically dealing less damage, trying to kind of de-incentivize the int for obelisk mentality that we saw a lot during the SPL qualifiers, but it still shows quite a bit of importance here. You still get a decent chunk of global gold and XP for your team, just not quite as much as we got during that last stage.
Yeah, it's not like well, it is still really, really good to get on your team.
Oh,
and you
yeah.
do absolutely want it. But I think the key note is that it's not like the end-all, be-all. And the other thing is, you know, you have this buff forever, it feels like. You know, when you are able to pick it up, and you can see Quig going to pick that up right now, you just get it for so much of the game.
Marbach is struggling to find any inch to live throughout here, but a big ultimate from Remakami will pull him right back in. And Oath seals the deal with one final basic. A nice little kill for the Vamps over in the solo lane one more time. And it's 5 kills spread between the solo and jungle out of Vamps. Only other kill on the board has gone over to Dude Man Bro.
Which, honestly, I have to say, big shout-out to Quig, because somehow he's got 3 assists on all of this, even though I feel like almost all of the action, most of these kills, seem to be happening on the right-hand side of the map. I guess exactly half of them, which is probably the half that Quig hasn't been part of. 3 of those deaths onto Marbach. He's falling pretty uncomfortably behind. Might go even further behind here.
Marbach in danger once again. Level 7 trying to box back in, but you can't box 2 of them. And it's another kill up for Oath. 4-0 for the jungler. Dude Man maybe taking another spill here as there's 3 chasing him, but with Quig and Crimson here, you might just be able to squeak out. Gets away from the stun. The jukebox are good. He's turning the fight back around. Dude Man Bro with the 1v1 turnaround takes down Dark Please, and now that Quig is here to zone them out and erupt Crimson at level 10 on this Tiamat. Dude Man is gonna somehow make it out, and he turned one around.
Dude Man Bro said, all right, I'm sub 30% health and mana, and still chose to fight. Now Quig's going in deeper. He's got Oath. They're ready to go.
They are just boxing in the back of the jungle. It's another one up for Oath, and Quig wants to hunt for a kill on the rear. Just not able to find him just yet. He'll make it back out. But look at this grouping that we're seeing at the back Heartbeat camp here. Vamps have come out swinging already. 4,000 gold that they have amassed here in just under 8 minutes. This is a hefty lead for Vamps early on in the game.
Yeah, this is it, like early on to be able to pick this up without a Gold Fury. That's the most important thing. Sans Gold Fury, they've been able to get this amount of gold, which means that theoretically for a little less Pog, it's not out of the realm of possibility to try and catch back up. But also, if you're Vamps, that means that there's one more objective on the map that you could try to get and get a little bit more. I want to see this, and I'm happy that we're looking at it again. The replay for Dude Man Bro. So look at this. So 20% HP, maybe less, and 30% mana, and he turned around to fight. That's all. It's just sick. That's just, and he recognized the amount of damage he's able to do. The acid spray and the poison darts doing just enough, and even now,
One more?
no, he's not going to be able to find it. But that's how quickly a fight can turn around, and that's where that level lead is really going to come into favor. Dark Please is 2 levels down, and pretty much everybody on the side of a little less Pog is minimum 2 levels down. And so you're really starting to feel that come to fruition in these team fights where you're not able to take as many hits as the other guy is. He's got just a little more health than you, and all of a sudden, it's causing this huge disruption.
Just like you said, this is all without a Gold Fury, all without a Pyromancer because it's not even up yet. And maybe it'll be all without their support. A little as Pog loses Kuradal here in the mid lane. It's another kill up for the solo laner this time who rotated in. Remakami on the Bastet, 3-0-2, 3.5 levels up over Marbach, who was just barely able to go back and get their Berserker Shield. Now Remakami sitting on 2 full items. A Jotun's Wrath picked up right after for that extra bit of cooldown reduction. Dark Please, I'm not sure if this is a fight, even with basically no mana on Dude Man Bro, that you really want to take.
Honestly, based on what I just saw, I don't want to fight Dude Man Bro at all. He could be no health, no mana. I'd still be worried about it. Oath is also in the neighborhood. That's where wards are really going to come in handy. This is also, it's one of the detriments that I think needs to be talked about a little bit more. When you fall behind 6,000 gold, geez, 10 minutes in, wards become a lot more difficult. I mean, you know, dropping 50 gold or 100 gold to get 2 wards to cover your jungle becomes a lot more of an infeasible thing because all of a sudden you're, you know, right now you're just behind tier 2 to tier 1. But then it's tier 3 to tier 1, and then he's got another tier 1. You're a full item behind, things like that. And so really having that coverage, it's going to be helpful, but it's going to be hard to afford.
Remakami may have bought off more they can chew here. Marbach in danger. Rearch will make sure to come over here and try and help out and deal some damage back to Remakami, but it's a level 12 Bastet versus a level 9 Kleena, a level 9... Never mind, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much damage you throw at Remakami because he's back to full health thanks to that Soul Leader turns that fight instantly. This team is just on fire right now. That's all I can say for Vamps.
Yeah, I mean, they're hitting every stride that they need to. The fact that Quig is doing as much damage as he
He's
is
gonna solo it?
just showcases how ahead this team is. One belly flop. Come on, quick. You can do it. Belly
You
flop?
already
Nah.
used it.
It's going to come off cooldown eventually. Just chase him.
Yeah, don't worry. Just wait a long time. And don't even wait. Just let Oath come over and deal the last bit of damage. Pin is good. Kurdal can't get too far away, but Quig, he gets interrupted on that belly flop. A nice riptide from Kurdal actually keeps him alive. And so both of the dual lane members of ALITTLELESSPOG was forced to be on full retreat here. Gold Fury started up now by VAMPS, and that one will go to them handedly. So now all this lead that we talked about, this 6, now over 7,000 gold lead that VAMPS has, now finally has an objective to its name. But Gore, we're starting, at first we were sitting at like the 500 gold a minute kind of extra lead here, maybe even more. Remakami will go down. A nice punish there by the mid laner. Adakula able to get that turnaround kill with the final judgment. Will at least be able to slow down VAMPS just a little.
That's a double whammy shot. You don't get to see those too often. He gets the confirmation and a kill. Perfect for them. Plus, and you have to highlight this, how important that kill is, right? It's not just, oh, he managed to take somebody down. First off, it's their 3rd kill of the game, but realistically, it's a death on a 4-0-2, now 4-1-2 Bastet that is up 3 levels in lane. That grants them not only a lot of time where this Bologna theoretically can try to catch up a little bit, but realistically, it's a huge bounty.
Kurdal goes down once more in the mid lane. That one goes to Crimson. Marbach on the run now from Oath. If it's not Remakami, it's Oath consistently putting pressure across the map here. Quig wants to go for a steal, but the buff is already done. Rearjin, Adakula here in the mid lane, just trying to get any farm that they can because everywhere else on the map, it's being stripped away. Dudeman Bro gets this purple buff, and the obelisk coming up one more time. We can already see it's nearly full stack for VAMPS as those of all those offerings have been stolen away here by the VAMPS team.
Yeah, this is, again, you lose the Pyromancer, but you show control elsewhere. Now you pin Greer down to the ground as he's running away. Oath is just running around for free in this jungle. And it's almost like there's nothing they can do about it. I mean, look at the return damage. There was virtually none. And with his ult, he healed it all back up. So they really need some more staying power.
Adakula here on the thaw. Just wants farm. He literally just wants farm, and Quig is standing at the tier 1 tower line. This is the best chance for Dark Please to get any kind of turnaround. But Dudeman is up way too many levels, is way too much damage. It's a turnaround kill here for Dudeman Bro. Mid lane, Marbach comes through to try and save the day, but it's Remakami at the end of the day who gets the kill. Another one up for VAMPS, 15-3. And a tier 1 tower, not just in the dual lane that should be going down, but one here in the mid lane to add another 1,000 gold to the VAMPS pockets.
Yeah, what you're seeing throughout this is just the VAMPS showcasing their competitive experience, right? I think the fact that Quig, Dudeman Bro, and Oath were all on a team last year, and Crimson was on one of the top SCC teams, is really starting to show through out all of this. I mean, VAMPS just, they're controlling a lot of the map. They're showing good pressure everywhere. It's not the end all of the game for ALITTLELESSPOG, but they've got to start choosing their battles a little bit better. And picks like this, if Kurdal goes down there, it's such a vast difference than what it could mean. You need the 5-on-5. You need to be able to show presence around potentially the Fire Giant Pit, but specifically Pyromancer when it respawns. It's the most helpful objective you're going to be able to get. You're going to need the ward coverage. You're going to need the relics. And unfortunately, you're 4 levels down if you're support. You're 3 levels down in a lot of the other roles. There's going to take a lot of picking and choosing of your battles, and you're going to lose a lot in the process, but eventually you'll be able to play catch-up.
Yeah, Marbach does not get even a moment to breathe in this solo lane. It's another double rotation in from the jungle solo trying to get the kill. He will live, but Remakami shouldn't live here. A nice rotation from the mid laner and then the jungler, and even Kurdal even making the rotation here. ALITTLELESSPOG are able to capitalize and punish this solo laner, but an ultimate out of support. Not going to be good enough to hold Oath down. And Dudeman Bro is on the wrong side of the map. He is in the solo
he's
lane
on the right
now.
side of the map.
And they're able to get one. Rearj is able to get away, but Dudeman Bro will close the gap on Kurdal, and that should be a second kill up. This one for Oath, now unstoppable. And you know what? Maybe he is on the right side of the map, because now he's ready for the Fire Giant. 15 minutes in, VAMPS going for the first major objective of the game.
Yeah, that fight felt like ALITTLELESSPOG could probably get something going for themselves up until Wind Demon was an item that has been built by Dudeman Bro. The crits start running through, they start ringing true, and unfortunately from that point forward it just became a lot more difficult to fight up against VAMPS. A really good rotation from them, right on time, right where they need to be. A really good translation from kills immediately into the Fire Giant. I mean, this is just good play from VAMPS right now, and being able to find this pressure on the map. There's tier 2 still standing, but with what they've built up and who they have, it should be at least 2 of them that are going to go down from this Fire Giant. With the way that they've been rolling through these fights, they're going to be able to find pressure onto Phoenixes. It's just a time frame question. Probably not in the first couple of minutes, but relatively soon, I won't be surprised if a-little-less-pog have to fall back to those Phoenixes.
I mean, right now we're seeing that Rearge on this clean it just has to use his ultimate charges just to clear camps out because of how much pressure that Quig on this Bacchus is putting across the map. He's gone back, he's level 13, he's got a Stone of Binding, which got a very small buff, and I can't even really say small. It got 5 extra protections for both physical and magical this patch, and it was one of those items that I was kind of keeping my eye on because we saw it for a little while, kind of popping in and out of popularity, but now it seems that it might be something to stick around here. Rearge is going to have to get himself back to the tower, but with Oath rotating over, it's now a 3v3, and make that only a 2v3 now because Oath has already eliminated 1 off the board. Marbach gets away from the stun at the least, but he's gone right back to the clutches of Oath. A nice belly flop in, gets a double kill for Oath, and it should be an easy chase down for the jungler to go for a potential 3-piece here. Marbach gets to the Phoenix, but Oath is willing to die for that. A nice disarm, though, from Marbach will make sure that Oath can't close out that kill. Instead, will maybe be able to turn the kill around themselves, unless Oath... It will go through, not quite. Dude Man is trying to go for this. He's taking up the Phoenix now.
I mean, look, this is just, that's greed. When it, like, what they're doing right now, that's greed. But at the end of the day, they don't get the kill, they get 2 Phoenixes. It's a happy trade-off.
Didn't even notice they were doing the left Phoenix.
I have to say, this is something, if you're a-little-less-pog, a 3v3 fight, you're at a numbers disadvantage. It doesn't matter that everything's even, you're not going to be able to fight on level with pretty much any given 3 of VAMPS, and I think that that was a good showcase for it again. But you have to look where you know, some of the biggest differences are. You've still got that solo lane difference, 4 levels there in mid, 4 level for your carries. Dude Man Bro has such a wide advantage coming into these fights, plus he's gone crit and has that online immediately versus what Dark Please is already building up, and you know, unfortunately for Dark Please, what Dark Please is maybe eventually going to get in that Atalanta's bow. It's going to be a nice stat stick, but still hard to alleviate the pressure that is 4 levels. So I want to see them fall back, but this is full on defense time. That Oni Fury, it doesn't exist to you. Honestly, some of your jungle buffs, they might not exist to you if Vamps are in the neighborhood. You just get away, you clear out space, and you hope for them to get a little too greedy under a Phoenix, a little too greedy under the Titan, and then you're going to be able to strip away those health bars. Any kill that you get up against Vamps here is just such a huge bounty for you. It brings so much gold back into your favor, and the death timers at this point for them are going to be pretty hefty. You might be able to get something done on the map afterward, but you cannot be caught out. I'm looking specifically where Thoth is right now, anywhere in the mid lane where this Bologna is, unfortunately. 1 pick might just end the game.
Well, mid tier 2 is the only tower left standing, and then the Phoenix right after it, because left and right were taken much earlier on. And that tier 2 won't last very long as Dude Man Bro level 19 on the Medusa. Oath in the 1v1 against Dark Please, and this is pretty much just the state of the game right now. Dark Please doesn't get a chance to fight back through, but maybe in this mid lane they could try and grab something here. Quig will try and get Kurdal, but a nice shell is going to keep them alive, as well as some healing through. Adakula under fire by Oath, however, under that Phoenix, and that's going to be a double kill up for Oath. Remakami picks up 1, and Oath will clean up for a nice triple kill. It's only Rearge left alive. He'll at least get a nice little pick on the 1, and it's a full house here. A triple for Oath and a double for Remakami. That'll be a deicide, and what I can only imagine will be game 1 going down here. Vamps with a very clean performance here in our first game.
All right, now I'm going to tell you this. It is difficult when you are a team like this. You're 20,000 gold down. You've got 5 times more kills on the other side than what you've been able to put up. That's one of those games that when it ends, you look at your teammates and you go, all right, let's just, didn't happen. let's just reset. Let's go into game 2 as if it's game 1, or at least try to keep our mind, like keep picks and bans in mind, things like that. Maybe try to limit some of the top tier picks that we got to see from Vamps there, and I think that's going to be the change up, but there's a lot from the beginning that needs to be changed. But realistically, it was the first 5 minutes. They were already down 2K 5 minutes in, and so for a-little-less-pog, it really is going to be in this picks and bans and very initial start to try and alleviate some of that pressure. But for Vamps, just run it back, man. That looked great.
I mean, Vamps seem like they can do no wrong here in our first game. We're going to take it to a quick break, and then we'll come back to get you guys set up for game number 2. game number 2 of our first set of the day between VAMPS and ALITTLELESSPOG. VAMPS with a very nice showcase of just how good our SCC talent from Season 8 was, translating here into Season 9. They had a great performance during SPL qualifiers, and they're still looking to continue that train here, Goremizer, as game number 1 was just dominance. I think that's the only one word I can use to describe. It was just dominance from minute 1 out of VAMPS. Dual lane spiraled out of control. Oath got out of control. He was like 12-0 at the end of the game or something like that.
They managed to take control of the side lanes almost immediately. I mean, we saw it in the dual lane. Like, we watched the Frenzy get popped, and immediately, it wasn't for kills. It was just, we're going to clear this better than you, and we're going to make sure that you can't do anything. From there, it was, you know, a standard, let's go take whatever camps we can, find the experience we can. They did eventually get first blood as well, which is a huge opener for them. But on top of everything they were able to do, they opened up a lot of kills. Moments like this one, where Dude Man Bro has no reason, no right to live, dodges out the stun from the Emoja, and gets a turnaround kill onto the Kernanos. Eventually it grew into a massive 4-level lead over there. And while that's going on, you've got constant ganks going on in the solo lane. Oath didn't have to spend a lot of time in the duo lane. He went over there a few times, but realistically they were already ahead. He just kind of helped get them a little bit further ahead. And ultimately set this Bologna to be behind. Make sure that whenever, you know, Rimikami was in lane, never had to worry about anything. Rimikami gets a couple of solo kills as well, and they just stacked up on top of each other to the point where everybody felt like they were just too strong to handle for ALITTLELESSPOG.
You know, it's wild that we watched a team with Crimson on it, and we didn't even really say his name. Like, this is just a case of
Had some
where
sick plays, though.
He did have a couple of good moments, a couple of really good stuns throughout.
Yeah.
But it was one of those games where Crimson just got to exist and play Smite.
Yeah, Crimson was coasting.
1-1 and 6. No, he was. Coast plays Hunter, different player.
Yeah, good point.
Good point. 1-1-6. 12-0-4 though for Oath.
And he's also European.
He is. Different region. Actually, bottom of the player damage here for Crimson. That's the point I was trying to get to. As I was watching.
That's actually wild.
That's what I was trying to kind of allude to.
Damage.
Was this guy did not have to care about anything happening on the map. He would rotate to a fight whenever he had the opportunity to. Otherwise, he was just chilling and farming the entire time. Took only 4,200 player damage throughout the entirety of that near 20-minute game there. Crimson literally just got to experience Smite happen all around him.
Now, Quig, I've got some advice for you. Immediately, go back and screenshot that screen, and then the next time, if there's ever like a scrim or a game where they're like, I don't know, Quig, like it feels like you could have done more, just post that plus ratio plus L. Everybody will vote for you immediately. It's clean form. 19. Look, when is the last time you saw a support do 1,900 more damage than? Honestly, kind of anybody, let alone the mid laner. I think that's just fun to see. But it, like, again, goes to further your point. Crimson just had to exist there. He was playing setup, playing the Emoja. As long as you don't lose, you don't have to worry about it. They played through the side lanes really, really well. And so he didn't have to worry about it. But I think if you can swap a couple of things here, if we see him get his Thoth, things like that, where he is very proactive, I think we get it like the inverse of that story, right? We get, okay, so Crimson is the guy, and everybody else is along for the ride.
I mean, at that point, it felt like they were just saying, hey, Crim, just don't die in mid, and we'll take care of everything else. And he said, all right, cool, I'll just pick Tiamat and do so. We'll see if that works for them here in game number 2. Picks and bans ready to go for ALITTLELESSPOG and VAMPS. ALITTLELESSPOG will take first pick this time, and that gives them a little bit of opportunity because we have seen a lot of the potent powerhouse picks, things like the Amaterasu were so big for a lot of teams during the SPL qualifiers, but we saw that VAMPS, though, the first pick team last time around, were willing to ban that in first pick. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that happen here again in game number 2, even though they're in second pick now.
And I think it's because of this conversation, this Bastet that exists, and because they were like, okay, cool, what do we want them to get and what do we not want to play against? We want the Bastet, so we're going to ban the Amaterasu and try to limit that solo pool down a little bit more. And it opens up, so much. I mean, we saw what that Bastet was able to do up against the Bologna. That Bologna was the top pick for ALITTLELESSPOG and did not really provide what you would expect out of a top pick. So ultimately, I think you're going to need to see a transition in those top 2 overall for ALITTLELESSPOG. This is maybe the most important top pick that they're going to have, just because otherwise they get knocked down. Not eliminated, knocked down, since it's double elim. But you also have to think about what you're giving up, right? When you look at the bans so far, a lot of them are pretty standard across the board, but the Amaterasu is still available. A lot of good picks that are available over in the support role still up. The Bacchus that we just saw could just make an easy comeback here.
Izanami was one of the hunters that was very heavily favored during the SPL qualifiers for the amount of pressure she just naturally creates, and being able to clear the entire wave with just autos, being able to pierce through the entire wave is always something that's going to net you a little bit of that extra pressure here. There will be Bacchus, like you had a nice little call out there, but Amaterasu still missing in this equation so far. The Izanami was the first pick where we may have expected at least the Amaterasu to go, but at least Izanami will get some pressure over in that dual lane to kind of help up against this Bacchus.
That's Amaterasu adjacent. it's a warrior.
She is another auto-attacking warrior.
Another
yes.
auto-attacking female warrior. Look, they have a lot in common, okay? Hold on. They both have 4 abilities, one of which is an ult.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, see?
They both have a
They have
dash.
a passive.
They both have a dash.
Yeah, see?
They both have ways of silencing
virtually the exact same god here. I will say, I'm surprised to see this Bologna get locked in over the Ama, but again, maybe the flavor of what you want to see. We've been seeing a lot more with Berserker Shield, as prominent as it is. I think that plays really well. You go back a few years, it's a Bologna Osiris meta. We haven't seen a lot of Osiris, although I feel like usually when Bologna does well, he tends to follow, so maybe we'll start to see him. Amaterasu should be able to hold their own a lot better. That Bastet matchup last game got out of hand incredibly fast.
Yeah.
And so if this Amaterasu can at least stay within a level, whether they fall behind or if they can get ahead, then I think it's going to have much more fighting chance, a much more big team fight presence than what we got to see last time.
Adakula, interesting enough to note here, while he didn't have a standout performance on the Thoth last game, that did get banned away in that first phase this time around, and then couple that now with the Agni for VAMPS. That'll at least get 2 of the mid lane bans, and then a little bit of jungle slash, it's weird to say jungle slash solo because there is a Bastet there that did play solo and has seen success in solo. But Assassins and Mage is the name of the game here for bans out of VAMPS. ALITTLELESSPOG, they're going to take away Camazotz and Persephone. Persephone, kind of an interesting one, Gormizer, because she was basically not played at all pretty much for the latter half of Season 8, except
all
by
of last year.
pretty much all, except for Hurrywin. Then she
couple of
really
games.
had a lot of favor during the qualifiers for SPL. Now seeing a ban here by ALITTLELESSPOG. And now you throw Atlas in the mix here. Cab and Atlas is a beefy front line.
And a lot of control. I mean, you've got stuns from Kabrakan, walls from Kabrakan, you've got stuns from Amaterasu, as well as good damage and healing, as well as Prot Shred, and then you've got Atlas who can just pull people back in, control the flow of the team fight, as well as, I believe, strip protections on his ults, things like that. It's just really, it's a good core that, in theory, will make Merlin and Izanami have the easiest game of their lives. They should have enough to peel, as well as set up for a lot of kills. It just depends. Again, I just have to flash back to last game. If you fall too far behind, this core can do a lot of peel, and sometimes it'll just feel like prolonging, right? The inevitable that is going to come your way. I think, though, when you look at what is going to be the mid 3v3, assuming Kabrakan jungle with the Atlas and the Merlin, it's going to be a lot of good, stationary right here damage. If you can keep people locked in a single spot, which most of these characters are good at, then it's going to be able to stack up. Morgan can be a little slippery, but ultimately doesn't have a leap, only has that invis, so the Kabrakan walls are going to help lock her down. I think they've got a lot of promise in the mid lane.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting matchup. Mid lane specifically, I think, is where ALITTLELESSPOG really needs to get some shine going through. The side lanes, as we highlighted a lot earlier on, as you mentioned there, the side lanes was the big struggle for ALITTLELESSPOG, and they didn't really have an opportunity in that mid lane to kind of break out here. We'll see if they can do that, though, in game number 2 between VAMPS and ALITTLELESSPOG. ALITTLELESSPOG, if they lose this one, they're not out just yet. There is the lower half of the bracket, but it's going to be a long climb back up for them to try and qualify into the SCC. And it will be the Kabrakan jungle, so we will be seeing more so standard across the board here for ALITTLELESSPOG.
Yeah, pretty much everything that you would have expected. The most quote-unquote unstandard thing is realistically just Greer playing this Kabrakan out in the jungle, but other than that, I mean, we've even seen that. So it's not necessarily like it's too out of pocket for them. And I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do with it. I had mentioned, and I just said, that their mid lane, their mid 3v3 is going to be strong. And that's going to be helpful for them, and I think that is an entirely accurate position to have. But I think they need to be worried about their long lane and their short lane as well. And that's really because that's where the pressure just amassed for VAMPS. We talked about it. Crimson didn't really have to do anything that game versus what Quig, Dude Man Bro, Oath, and Rumikami were able to put up. So Crimson now on a much more active god in this meta is going to be able to enhance those lanes a little bit more. You know, admittedly, this feels like something that if it gets out of hand for ALITTLELESSPOG, the mid lane, it'll be nice to shut down Crimson, but you're really going to need rotations from this Merlin damage to show up on the side lanes to help alleviate some of the pressure. You've got an Izanami, that should do pretty well. You've got a Materasu, she should be able to hold her own, but you still need to worry about those side lanes because what we've seen is exactly what Quig's doing right now.
Quig will go immediately up
Oh
against
my
Dark.
God.
Please, one more auto. Dude, man, bro, 35 seconds into game number 2.
That's a
He's
good
already
stun.
struck first blood.
Body blocks?
Body blocks, insane by Quig. One more auto is all it takes. Dude, man, bro, with the Dude Man double to start the game off.
So let's go back to talking about how we need to help out these long lanes. That is not the start. A double kill. Immediately, that frenzy. I mean, it was the exact play Quig wanted to make last game. Except it was just perfectly executed. The damage was a little bit more lasting. Dark Please was not able to get away. This is, you know, the best time. Level 1 early on, so easy to lock down another hunter because they're not going to have their movement ability. They have their clear. And so this Izanami has no dash. All it takes is good positioning from Quig. You body block a little bit for Dark Please, and then immediately a great body blocks onto Kiradel.
No.
Beautiful knockups, plus he's got these stuns. I mean, it's just, it's too much to handle. And they're going into this second fight, you know, now 2 levels up. After such clean play, you get level 2 off the kills. And I believe, Dude Man Bro, if he didn't hit level 3 off of this, then it was shortly thereafter on the wave. And so it's just such a clean set of plays for them.
Well, I thought maybe we were going to see a death over in that dual lane right before we got to
Quig
that
wants it.
replay, but didn't get it this time around. Still will just be the 2 up. But I think it's also important to go back to even kind of how that play started was Quradel went with his dash level 1 and used it instantly to go into the wave. So that removes the extra movement speed that his teammate would have gotten. It removes his 1 early CC and the slow. Dark Please does get stunned out, and the enhanced auto on the 3rd swing there will be enough for a kill. Beads at a Dude Man from the pull from Quradel. We'll make sure that at least gets something off the death there. But again, Quradel starting with dash, not always the most common thing that we see on the Atlas level 1. Sometimes it is more so that Astrolabe, but because he used it instantly during that wave, he didn't have any way to help peel for Dark Please.
That's the thing. The Astrolabe is very helpful, especially for clear, but you've got Izanami. Like, I can very much understand the mentality of we should be fine. Unfortunately, we should be is not what's going on for them, right? Duo lane, they've already fallen down 3 kills. Kiradel's been able to stay alive because he has that dash so early on. But other than that, their clear has not been up to snuff from what you typically expect from an Izanami. And now they get a clean kill in mid. Like, Merlin, look, I like Merlin. I think he can bring a lot. You have to talk about objective shred and what he's able to provide in team fights with how massive his abilities can be. Good Divine Ruin applicator. When it comes to flat pin, he loves it. He likes the damage he's going to be getting out of the builds right now. But he's also not really the mid lane mage that anyone, at least that I'm thinking of, at the very top of the list. And realistically, I think we're starting to see a little bit of that. Unfortunately, while his damage can be nice, Morgan's going to have more burst.
Yeah, and that flicker doesn't really go a super long way.
Very far away,
like some other dashes and leaps from some of the mid laners do go. I mean, Thoth, Evade, and Punish with that glyph can go super far away. Agni's dash very quickly. Obviously, both those gods banned away here. But Flicker doesn't have a long range. It's like 30 units, barely like half an a ranged auto attack distance. And Edakula here is going to need everything that he can get. Unfortunately, Quig will not let him be so. Rotation over here by Crim. That'll be a nice easy kill for them, as it looks like that may end up bringing a pause coming out from these 2 teams there.
Yeah, if that had been at the end of last game, I think I'd understand it, but I can't imagine. Yeah, there's the DC there. I was like, I can't imagine that was a, you know what, I'm done already. Not even 5 minutes into the game. So an understandable kill that comes out from VAMPS. Of course, competitive, go for it, but maybe not the best position you want to be in. Now 2 deaths down, 1 level separating the 2 mid laners. So not a huge deal yet. But when I'm looking at Morgan in this meta and what we just saw, which was a transformation into the Bacchus, I'm expecting a lot of aggression coming down from Crimson. Whereas on the other side, Merlin is able to open up some avenues for you. Again, really good objective burn, really good at peeling for tanks and burning down tanks. But you have to factor in the fact that if Morgan gets ahead here, all of a sudden everything that you're seeing from Merlin, it feels like it falls off even further, becomes a little less important overall.
Oath fighting out into the duo lane here. Dark Please doesn't get an opportunity to farm as he's being dove by the tier 2 tower by the jungler and support of VAMPS. Though it won't get a kill this time, VAMPS will at least get to steal away the purple buff and strip even more experience away, while Oath strips away more of the health bar of Dark Please. And 5 minutes in the game, we're already seeing a 3,000 gold deficit, 3,000 experience give take here. ALITTLELESSPOG, once again, I mean, the thing was stay alive in the dual lane. Well, staying alive in the dual lane didn't happen. Okay, well, we need the mid lane to stay alive. Well, staying alive in the mid lane hasn't happened. The one benefit they've had is that solo lane hasn't died yet.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I was going to talk about the exact same thing. Because I was like, man, you're 3 levels down in mid. That hurts. You're 3 levels down as a carry. That hurts. There's not a lot of ways to highlight it and make it feel good. But being able to be on par, at least for one of your frontliners, should open up a conversation.
Nice little steps there by Itakula, but not enough to get him out there. It's a double kill for Oath. And Kurdolf able to get a nice little kill over for himself. They're able to pick up 1, at least right before they go down. But that's a 3 for 2 swing. Obviously, that 2 is really going to benefit ALITTLELESSPOG because they did get Dude Man Bro specifically out of that one. But if they lose another here, might not be so generous, might not be so beneficial. Turnaround ultimate by hi-rez, and now the Dark Please is back. They can turn around and get at least Crimson, and now Quig too. Now making it a 4 for 3, much more worthwhile for ALITTLELESSPOG.
That's punished for your hubris, right? Every single, like, that's 4 kills in a row.
5?
If you were watching, okay,
no.
Rimikami does, but see, that one was at Rimikami's tower, so it makes a little more sense for it to be at least balanced. But still, level 8 to 8, like, I like Marbach being aggressive there and playing that the way they did. Every other kill, though, all 4 of those, feels like it is just over-aggression from VAMPS. It feels like something that I don't want to take it away from ALITTLELESSPOG because, like you said, those kills are worth a lot. It was a 3-level difference in mid and a 3-level difference for Dark Please. And now you can see Dark Please is just 1 behind. You're tied in supports. They're able to play a little bit more.
Nice ultimate over the stun there. That'll get 1. Marbach is here. Rimikami's low. Rimikami might be going down here. Marbach, though, doesn't have the ultimate. Bludgeon Slam misses. The Skewer just a little off the mark, but Oath has enough damage just in the in-hands and that Kingslayer enough to get 1. But Dark Please helping with Kurta there. Able to get a nice little revenge kill and finally put Dude Man Bro back in the dirt.
Yeah, and again, now he was 3-0, 3-2-2, has not been as successful. These kills mean a lot, even if it doesn't get that instant gold lead back in your favor. The experience was such a huge deal in that last game. I mean, ALITTLELESSPOG ended the game with 5 kills in game number 1. Now they're at least tying that and having a little bit more presence. Does that mean that they're going to be able to get as aggressive as they maybe need to and be in this map to slow down VAMPS? Maybe not, but ultimately it has opened up an easier avenue for them to at least play something. Unfortunately, J-Mac, they traded the duo lane lead, which was 3 levels for Dude Man Bro, for the solo lead. Rimikami is now 3 levels up, and honestly, it came out of nowhere. It was level 8 to 8 quite literally a minute ago. Like, it skyrocketed out of nowhere from 1 kill, a little bit of farm, plus now what they've been able to escalate in the jungle.
Good gravity well, pulls in Crimson, who's in danger, transforms into the Bacchus for some extra defenses, and will have enough to belly flop away. Shot from the Gamma Ray Burst is good, but not enough to take down Crim. Marbach rotating over, but Oath now in the mid lane is chasing down Itakula, but not enough damage through because now Dark Please is rotated over, and Marbach finds Crimson backing at the tier 2 tower. We'll get another pick there. It's 2 more up now for ALITTLELESSPOG, making the kill 7 to 11. Maybe looking to add 1 more here. Good walls will hold Quig in place, and the CC chain is enough to hold him down, and hi-rez picks up the double.
I think they get a Fury off of that for free. I mean, I feel like that's the place that I'd want to run. You've got a Merlin, but they're backing up. And I see a couple people channeling their backs. Rimikami's rotated in, so that can definitely cause a lot of trouble. I feel like there was actually more opportunities for ALITTLELESSPOG there to turn this gold lead into something even further. They've lost a couple of tier 1s. They do manage to defend the tier 2 that Dude Man Pro was starting to push up on, but I can't help but think they could have opened up the avenue to close up that gold lead. That fight is so wonderful for them. Great rotations, good CC chains, recognizing what ults they're able to use. They're even able to do it here to Dude Man Bro. Maybe not enough to continue to get the kill as he ults to increase the distance between them. But at the end of the day, you're still 4,000 gold behind, right? It's that conversation that has to be had of what are you accomplishing when you get that space? They got the space, and then they just backed off and slowed down. Now they don't have the space anymore, and it seems like VAMPS are just going to be able to move back in.
They don't have their mid laner either and may not even have their jungler. Ridge throws out the walls, but the stun from Quig around the wall is good. Needs one more auto from Dude Man to seal the deal, and he will do so, throwing that last bat to get the kill. Krim has rotated over towards this left side of the map to try and put some pressure on a Dark Please. Dark Portal, though, is good, and the bead's even better. We'll make sure he stays alive for the time being. One more auto from Quig is all that's necessary, but instead he'll use the Intoxicate to guarantee the kill. Pick up from Kurdal, throws Quig under the tower, but his Bacchus should be out, especially with Dude Man now rotating over. Gamma Ray Burst does some good damage, but Quig is not done yet. He belly flops in. Kurdal needs literally one good ability to hit, but Quig is out, and so is Dude Man. He'll use that Bifrost to get away.
I mean, that's good disengage. A little close for comfort, if I'm being completely honest.
He'll say it's calculated every day of the
Quig,
week.
Well, you know what? I would believe that Quig knew he could jump in, take one tower shot, and get out. I would 100% believe that. I do not think that you could say that it was fully calculated that you weren't going to get, like, CC. I guess, you know, he watched the cooldowns. I'd believe it. If he told me it was calculated, I'd believe it. Was it advised? Probably not. But it calculated, yes. Either way, it's such a good spot to be in if you're Vamps right here. Just the amount of control they have around the map, the amount of kills they've been able to pick up, despite how some of the, again, I'm going to call it hubris, has definitely punished them when they get a little over-aggressive. Because just look at the damage that Oath is outputting here against Marbach. If your frontliner is getting shredded by just one guy like this, it's going to be difficult in the middle of a team fight to make a huge difference.
Yeah, Oath will chase down Marbach and get another kill up for Vamps. 16-9 now up against ALITTLELESSPOG. Quig does get stunned. Tremors out of rear are holding the support in place, locking down the best that they can. But rotation in from Crimson will stop that. A good gravity well picks up Quig.
Quig's low.
He's not dead quite yet. The Blizzard will be enough to take him down, though, but Oath has made his way to the fight, and with Crimson turning into a second set, there's way too much damage across the board for them to handle. 4 deaths now on the side of ALITTLELESSPOG. I'm making a full deicide here as the Vamps clean up shop and only lose Quig for a full team wipe.
And again, this is such a huge opener. You get that tier 2. There's a Gold Fury. There's a Pyromancer. There's a speed buff that I can already see Oath has his eyes set on. There's so much to take on this map, and it just strips away even more from ALITTLELESSPOG. Whether they've been able to take some of these team fights, again, it's what you do with the space that you've afforded that makes the big difference. This Gold Fury, I think, could have been down right now in favor of ALITTLELESSPOG. Instead, it's going to be a nice big bump to Vamps, and they might still be able to rotate over for a Pyromancer.
Oath able to get out of there. Knights uses the Aegis to immune the initial damage burst coming out of Rearge on that Cabrakan. But Oath has 5 levels up on him right now. I mean, Gore, we're 12.5 minutes in the game. The gold is spiraled up to 8, nearly 9,000 in the lead here for Vamps. The kills just keep pouring in every time that there's any kind of brawl going through. And the level disparities on this right side of the map are the ones that are really stark. I mean, 5 for the jungle, 4 for the solo lane. When, what was it, 7-8 minutes in the game, we were singing the praises of solo, how Marbach was even with Remikami. Now it's a complete deficit.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is it just seems to be the way it's rolling. I mean, even here, look at that. Like, an aggressive beads used specifically for Remikami to continue chasing into a tier 2. Has some assistance, and they do lose their Crimson. I mean, this could be a good fight on the left-hand side for ALITTLELESSPOG.
Marbach will make it out, but will Oath make it is the question. Beads a little bit early there
This is
out of
good.
the jungler. Edakula will pick up the double kill for it. Now Dude Man Bro is the one on the wrong side of the map, surrounded by 4, but Quig is rotating in, and that should be enough to at least help try and turn the tides of the fight. Dude Man batting away in the back line while Quig and Remikami rotate through. Ult from Dude Man and the Bifrost to get him out, but waiting from the other side was Rearge, but you might not have wanted to wait there as Dude Man turns the fight around instantly. And Dark Please throwing out as many bases as they can to try and deal with these tanks. But Remikami is not done, going right back in. The dash, a Dark Portal from the Hunter is good. Dark Please not able to get one, but Marbach able to pick up Quig, and now it's Dude Man versus 4. And he is taking this fight every day of the week, but he's losing that same fight. It's Edakula on top.
Again, good fights. I want to see this team back, reset, go for a Pyromancer. At least, right? Start something up on your map. You know, you have such a golden opportunity laid out ahead of you, and I think that they've been taking these fights incredibly well. You know, despite a 5-level difference there in the jungle, Greer's still able to get a little bit more hands-on, and every kill, when you kill Dude Man Bro, specifically here when you kill Oath, you get big bounties off the other side, a nice good gold infusion to somebody, a nice level infusion to someone. if you can find little fights like this, unfortunately not up against Crimson, but that opens up a conversation because there he goes down. Kieranel's able to get something on the board. As long as they're taking trades like that, there's a conversation to be had for a ALITTLELESSPOG.
Especially with Crimson being up so much team-wise at least. Now he's only even level with Adakula as far as that is concerned. Both of them 3 items in. So this is the closest to even that we really have here. Maybe even more so for Kurdal as he's up a level actually. On to Quig. Dark Please has closed up that gap against Dudeman Bro where the dual lane was where it initially had spiraled out of control at the start of the game. It's now so that right side of the map that's become the real problem where last game it was the right side became a real problem real early, then it went to the dual lane. Now it's kind of flipped itself here. But ALITTLELESSPOG are fighting back in, and these fights have been essential for them to take, mostly because it's been forced upon them to take it every single time. But them being able to pick up these kills, and if they get a kill on Remikami here, that'll be huge, especially if Marbach can get the credit for it, because he is 4 levels down right now against the opposition. He'll take up that tower, so that way Kurdal and Dark Please can go through. A good pickup by the support. Throws him in, but Remikami wants to go aggressive in. Stuns 3 people out, and that's enough to make sure that he can at least hold out for the time being. But it's Dark Please who gets the final hit, and now with Quig rotating in, it may be doomsday here for the side of ALITTLELESSPOG. Ultimate is good to at least hold for a while, but Oath picks up 1. But now with 4 people here out of ALITTLELESSPOG, they're able to turn around and take out the jungler and the support.
Yeah, that's a 3-for-1 trade. Are you kidding me? That's so worthwhile. Crimson can do a lot here, and he does stop the back. So 3-for-2 trade, and that's going to open up a lot. If that Phoenix had gone down, it would have been a much more impressive fight from VAMPS. Great call from ALITTLELESSPOG to have the teleport come through. If they can get rid of Crimson, I mean, you're looking at a completely different team. Look, like gold lead at this point, it feels almost negligible only because there's so many fights that are going on. It just doesn't matter what team is necessarily ahead. Crimson goes down. I mean, J-Mac, like this is great spot for ALITTLELESSPOG to be in. Even though these charts don't necessarily back that up, I think they're in a position where if the fights keep going like this, they can at least get, you know, an Oni Fury when it comes up in a second or a Fire Giant here soon.
I mean, you can see earlier in the graph where it kind of, you know, plateaued for a little bit around like that 3,500 gold mark where ALITTLELESSPOG were able to at least hold the fight. Then VAMPS kind of took control of the game for a little bit, brought us down to this now like 6,500, 7,000 point. And it's kind of plateaued itself again here as ALITTLELESSPOG are able to kind of keep these fights in control. I think a lot of it does come down to the hubris of VAMPS. They're really just playing hyper aggressive even when they don't need to, just kind of fighting for the sake of fighting at this point, because only the Pyromancer has been taken down and that Gold Fury earlier on, but now it's the Oni Fury up. But ALITTLELESSPOG, with all this fighting, they brought themselves right back in this game to try and contest this objective.
And realistically, you know, earlier on, like 10 minutes ago, that this gold lead was oppressive. Right now, it still sucks. It's not the best for you, but it's manageable. And not only that, you can come back from it.
Fury's getting shredded through. That ultimate from the Atlas is really putting in numbers. A double pickup throws Quig up against the wall. Remikami, though, will go in. Dark Please in danger, and the Aussie proc will not keep him alive. Not enough lifesteal. Triple belly flop is good from Quig. The walls will hold Dudeman Bro out, but it's only sealing the fate of Rears as he goes down. Kurdal doesn't have many places to go when he's surrounded by 4. Adakula has some good damage in that ice stance, but now he is just going to be run down by the solo laner. He will get pulled back, though. Remikami can't secure that kill. And nice little play there by Adakula, keeps him alive, but they lose 3 for that Fury.
Yeah, they drop a lot to control the Fury cooldowns. Well, not necessarily huge cooldowns, although the Atlas ult may be a big one, that are just to burn down the Gold Fury. And unfortunately, VAMPS acted pretty much in the perfect window where there wasn't going to be as much retaliation as there could be. And even though I like the fight, it feels like a little bit too much all in on the Fury shred for ALITTLELESSPOG. And now with Fire Giant on the board, you need a hero play from Marbach.
Marbach level 15 on the Ama. Doesn't have ult just yet, but that'll be their opportunity to get in and try and steal away this Fire Giant. But maybe they won't get the opportunity to do so if Crimson is going to hold through and keep them back. Dash in, ultimate used to try and only stun against Dudeman. It will be good, but a return stun out of Crimson is enough to turn that fight around. Fire Giant does go to VAMPS, but Quig is low. Dudeman is low. Crimson is on the wrong side of this team fight. He meets up against Dark Please in the backline, and a Dark Portal is good from the Hunter to hold back Crim. He gets the transformation off, though. Crimson is out as Remikami picks up Adakula in the midst of the fight. Rearage using those tremors is
No.
only sealing his fate as Rema picks up the double kill.
No.
Dudeman picks up one, Oath another, and it's another deicide by VAMPS as they sweep the Fire Giant and sweep a little less Pog.
Look, for Dude Man Bro, I'm going to give a huge shout outs to Aussie Passive, but Fire Giant for the rest of these guys, and just the way they trade. That is such a good example of how to kite properly. I mean, it essentially felt like almost guiding a little less Pog into the damage that they needed to be. Getting a little too aggressive on someone who's low. Really good transition from Crimson to be able to turn into the set and get away. I mean, that was just a great team fight from VAMPS through and through, and it looked really good. Quig still dies at the end, but I think it's just such a good example of what you can do when you play together, and that was such a good bounce back and forth between everybody that it just felt too good, honestly. The fact that they were all yellow health bar or lower and were still able to turn that fight around is just nuts.
And Littlest Pog definitely had a little more fight in them this time around, specifically, you know, that dual lane. We thought it was kind of over for them for just a moment there because dual lane had a double kill happen almost instantly.
Yeah.
But then a nice little bit of turnaround. That solo lane kind of held them out for some time there. Mid lane started looking a little shaky, but some good fights all around by Littlest Pog. But VAMPS at the end of the day does come up with the 2-0. We're going to take it to a quick break, and we'll come back to close out our first set. Hello and welcome back, everybody. Game number 2 is done, and that means our first set has concluded. And it's VAMPS who come up with the victory here. A 2-0 win over a little less Pog here in our first set of the day. My name is J-Mac. With me, Gorm Miser, to break down game number 2 for as much as we can that we haven't already. I mean, it was a rough start to say the least. A nice bounce back from Little Less Pog, then a bit of a rough mid game, and then a bounce back, and then it ended.
I want to coin that phrase, tuver, like a two-over, tuver.
A tuver?
Just like it's like they slammed it. That's how this went.
They W-keyed
If you watch, so game 1 is a very concise victory for VAMPS, right? They get ahead really early on. They control it for the rest of the game. They don't make any mistakes. This game starts out pretty much the exact same way, except they get a little overzealous. They take a couple of steps a little too far forward a few times and end up opening a lot of conversation for a little less Pog to have a fight that goes their way. Unfortunately, it is, again, what you do with that space that was created that is the big deal for a little less Pog. And unfortunately, you know, there was a fight where I think they could have gotten a Gold Fury that would have alleviated a lot of stress for Gold much earlier on. They didn't go for the Gold Fury, whether it was a confidence thing or because they were too worried about Dude Man Bro's split push, I'm not sure. But, you know, little things like that really opened it up to the point where a little less Pog, they really did start popping off in terms of kills and turning things around, but it never got reflected in the gold. It only ever reflected in the experience, and unfortunately it fell apart. I mean, early on, though, VAMPS, again, just got to a massive lead. You got to see really good plays from Crimson. I think Crimson had some beautiful transformations throughout the entire duration of this game. Oath was just doing Oath things is the only way I can think to describe it. This set was just this. I mean, just unstoppable. I mean, like, you're playing Amaterasu, you go for it. He just decides that you're not going to get to stun him. You don't get to live there. It goes 11, 4, and 8. I think everybody on the team performed incredibly well. Rimikami had a really good game 1 on the Bastet, translates over to the Bologna incredibly well as well. And this time Crimson gets more damage than his support, so everybody's happy.
Hey, it's a good win for him. 5,000 more, to be specific, at the very least. Give or take a couple of numbers there. Oath actually dies this game, which is a very important thing because he went undying last game, 12-0. This time goes 11-4, so he ends with 23 kills in his first 2 games of the tournament. A pretty impressive number.
That's a good start.
To throw out there for
just by general metrics, that's a pretty good start.
At 23 kills in 2 games is no easy metric, no easy, you know, way to establish yourself right out the gate. But Oath does so here in set number 1 up against Little Less Pog. Little Less Pog, they're not out just yet. They will be moving down into the lower bracket. VAMPS, though, they'll be moving and advancing onward in the upper bracket, put themselves that much closer to qualification to the SCC. Remember, 6 teams from this North American bracket will make their way into the SCC for phase number 1. And let's take a look at that bracket.
It's a big
and
one.
See where they get to go on to. They'll be facing off against the winner of Great Gentlemen and Jazzy Jaguars, which will be, if I'm not mistaken, our next set of the game. And then there's still Sturdy Artisans and ET. Leoncitos and DDD going to be a little bit later today as well. Those top 4 are going to be our first 4 sets that happen throughout today. And then as we see on the other side of this little bracket here, Little Less Pog will now be waiting the loser of that next match, and that's where they're going to be playing out through here.
And I believe, as well, just looking forward, because you mentioned the 4 that we have today, the 4 that's on Sunday are the other portion of this winner's bracket, right? That's a lot of Smite. That's what I'm telling you.
That's a lot.
There's a lot of Smite, and that's not even including the EU games starting tomorrow. I'm very excited for the EU games, but I'm also excited looking at this. Fun Havers, The Neighborhood, Samsara, just a few names immediately that stand out later in this week, not even looking at the teams today that I think are going to be interested. Of course, Sturdy Artisans has to be mentioned. Leoncitos has to be mentioned. I also think DDD, but only because it makes me think of King DDD, and it's just very fun to say.
I was wondering if we were going to be allowed to say their name just because of the character out there, but hey,
well, it's also, there's like Yu-Gi-Oh cards that have DDD at the beginning, and they're like dark, different dimension. I can't remember. It's some weird abbreviation, man.
Look, I'm going to be real. I stopped paying attention to Yu-Gi-Oh after like the heroes and that kind of thing. That's how far and away I am from all of that kind of stuff going here. But we're going to cut it to a quick little break, and then when we come back, set number 2 will be starting up right after.